Welcome back, everybody, to some more Grand Tactician, the Civil War, and I wanted to let you know that I have gone ahead and officially upgraded to the kind of the working build of the game. You can opt into the beta, which is where the new patches that aren't quite completely polished but are being worked on are available, and it's just a simple thing that you do in the settings. In fact, I'll go ahead and show you how to do it if you want to upgrade to it. So what you want to do is, if you go into Steam, you just go into your list of games over here, and you right-click on Grand Tactician, go down to Properties, left-click on that, and you'll see across this series of tabs, go to Betas. And you click here, select the beta you would like to opt into, and all you want to do is you want to change it from opting out of betas to where it says Development, Latest Development Version. You just switch to that. And then apply that, and it'll automatically download that patch. I think it's like 1.2 gigabytes, and that will upgrade you to the latest development build of the game. Now, you'll notice right away down in the bottom right that one of the changes they've made is in how time is simmed. Now, instead of 1x, I think it's 1x, 5x, and 10x. Now you've got 5, 20, and 50. So a significant difference right there. One of the other major differences you're going to notice is when we get into a battle, they've completely reworked how the strategic points work in the battle. So we're going to experience that live together because I haven't gone into a battle yet. It also allows you to have multiple saves on the campaigns, but we'll take a look at that later if we get a chance. Now, if you saw last episode, you remember I was having a real problem with attrition in the Army of Northern Virginia. Well, that has finally stopped, and as you notice, my number is slowly going back up, which is excellent news. So for the most part, we are probably just going to sit tight. Confederacy joins the French in Mexico. Texas to send troops to Mexico. Emperor Napoleon III thanks Davis. Further collaboration possible. We now have a French intervention symbol up here. Conscription introduced into the Confederacy, so hopefully that's going to cause our numbers to start going back up as well. So now we've got French intervention, which actually stands at 80%. So it's more likely we'll get the French even than the British. All men 18 to 85 years liable to serve. Oh no, 18 to 35. I was going to say 85. No way. 18 to 35. Desertion increases in the CS Army. So we're going to see more desertion now because of that, but we're going to have a lot more troops available to us. So hopefully we will see this number. Okay, so now you can see our number of men kind of went down for a second, but now it's going back up. I want to watch this disabled number as well. That also is slowly going back down. I think for the most part, unless he brings battle to me, at least in the east, I'm going to sit tight until spring. We're going to let them go into winter quarters. We're going to get these numbers built back up. And then in the spring, we can take an offensive. But if he comes after me, obviously, I'm going to have to fight. And it looks like he may be doing just that at Winchester. So, yep, the 1st Corps of the 26th Army is in contact with the 3rd Corps Army of Northern Virginia. What are your orders? Let's play the battle. So here's going to be our first opportunity to play with the new strategic point system in the game. All right, it's saying 90,000 men under the Union when everyone arrives. Under Major General Tilson, only 37,000 available to me. So we'll see what the reinforcement situation looks like. I may need to pursue an aggressive battle here. It looks like we're going to be on the Antietam battlefield, which doesn't surprise me. Fighting around Winchester, that tends to happen. So let's take a look here real quick at the situation. Right now, outnumbering him. So there's an opportunity here to throw him back before he gets his reinforcements. And we do have some time. 9 hours before the Coast Division arrives, 14 hours before the 27th Army, 14 for the 28th Army, Department of Virginia, 11 hours, Army of the Potomac, 15 hours. So there's a lot of troops in the area. We really have to push this and push this aggressively. So you can see now that even the symbol for these does look different. It's going to take some time to capture each of these points. They're worth different point values. And once you capture them, I think it'll have an impact on the battle. So let's see where he looks like he's coming in from over here. He already holds the upper bridge point. We're down here and we hold this point. So unfortunately, with the way things are, and this is a feature that I believe can be turned off in the settings. I don't know if you can turn it off in the settings here, but if you can do it, we can at least see it here. Continuous victory points from objectives right there. So you can turn that on or off. I want to keep that on. I like what that does to the game. But it does mean I can't just sit back here at the Potomac River and let him hurl his forces at me anymore. I need to kind of be a little more aggressive in taking strategic points on the map. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Now you can see up here at the top, we actually have the earning victory points. And it says here the speed of with which victory points are earned depends on the amount and value of objectives occupied. The more units are used to take neutral or enemy objectives, the faster the objective is taken. So it's like a lot of games in terms of how it happens. And you can see that I'm earning victory points a little faster just because of the points that I've taken. I'm about to take a couple more of these as I move in to try and build a defensive line just north and east of the town of Sharpsburg. If I can get there without too much contact from the enemy, I'll move up toward Dunkard Church and the Sunken Road as well. And I feel like that'll be a pretty good starting point for those victory points. So this army, or this corps, is in command of General James Longstreet. I just finished with the memoirs of Ulysses S. Grant, which you've probably heard about and are renowned as far as being considered a great literary work for the time. And they were excellent. I'm very glad that I had the opportunity to read them. I think very highly of Ulysses S. Grant, not only as a general, but especially as a human being. And so now I decided I'd do something on the other side. So I'm getting into Longstreet's memoirs, which are called From Manassas to Appomattox. I actually just got into the very beginning of those memoirs. He talks a little bit about the Mexican War. In fact, he goes into a lot more detail about Mexico than Grant did, and he does talk about Grant in the beginning because they were very close. They met at West Point. I think Longstreet was a year ahead of, maybe 2 years ahead of Grant at West Point. They both ended up being assigned to the same regiment, the 4th Infantry, at Jefferson Barracks in St. Louis. Longstreet was a cousin of Julia Dent, who eventually became Mrs. Grant. And he mentions in his memoirs about how he rode with Ulysses the first time they went out to the Dent farm. Grant was friends. Probably his best friend at West Point was Frederick Dent. So he kind of had those connections. And Longstreet, some people say Longstreet was the best man at Grant's wedding. I don't know if there's any proof of that, but he definitely was at the wedding for sure. And they were good friends and always thought very highly of one another. So I'm curious to get into a little bit more of it. One thing I can already observe, Longstreet's a lot more wordy, and I don't mean using more words. Maybe the word is more eloquent. He uses a lot bigger words than Grant. Grant's is very simple. I'm not implying that Grant was stupid or not intelligent, but Grant's writing is much more simple, and I find Longstreet using much more flowery language in how he writes his. But I've just now gotten right up to just before Manassas, and unlike Grant, Longstreet was actually still in active service in the Army when the war broke out. He was out in New Mexico working in the pay department. And he said that he, like most Southern officers, was hoping that that it wouldn't happen, hoping that things would kind of work out. And it was only much after the firing on Fort Sumter that he even heard about Fort Sumter. I think it was well into May before they even heard anything. He said it was usually a month to 6 weeks before they would get any kind of word out in New Mexico of things. And so he immediately resigned his commission and decided to head to Richmond to see if he could be of service. And he said he was hoping when he got to Richmond to apply to be part of the paymaster department because that's what he knew. And he had long since given up the idea that he was going to have any kind of combat service. Well, he gets to Richmond, and it's actually like the end of June, 1st of July when he even gets there. And so it's already July when he gets appointed as a brigadier general, and they said, hey, you're going to take command of this Virginia brigade. And that was just 3 weeks before the first Battle of Bull Run. So that happened pretty quick. And he didn't have, he had never commanded anything nearly that high in terms of course, a lot of those guys hadn't really. So, I mean, that's not any real surprise. But it's interesting to hear his perspective on those things. And I'm very anxious to dive into more. All right, we got our first sight of the Union troops now. And it's actually been 4 hours, so already kind of lost a lot of time. We've just moved in here at the Sunken Road. I want to start taking these objectives, but as you can see, they're flashing, which means we haven't taken them yet. It's going to take some time for that to actually happen. I think I actually want to move Smith's division up here. so we can kind of catch him if he decides he wants to try and attack here. Once I've taken the sunken road, I'll probably move up over here. I'm trying to get my artillery into position. You can see again, the timers here are 2x, 5x, 10x for tactical combat, which is new. So we're trying to take these objectives now. Now I don't know if there's an actual place you can see the victory points that have been taken. Let's take a look here and see. So this is just the, okay, objective points, total objective points 9. Doesn't necessarily tell us how we're doing in terms of the battle, but you can see what we have. I should go back and try to get Harper's Ferry Road. I'm going to send Scott down to take that, and then we'll try to take the lower bridge, or Burnside Bridge as it's known. He seems like he's going to kind of sit tight. We got 4 hours now till the Coast Division arrives. And I don't know how many men he has with that. 5,100, so that's not too bad. So I would love to sit here in the position that I have right now, but as I know the reinforcements are on their way, I feel obligated to press this attack. So I'm just waiting to see what he does once he takes prize forward. If he secures that objective, I'm wondering if he'll move. And if he does, if he moves toward me, maybe I will wait to receive an attack from him. But if he doesn't, obviously I'm going to have to move a little sooner. So let's go ahead and speed up and see what happens when that objective is secured. I'm in the process of taking Porterstown and also Harper's Ferry Road, and then I'll move Scott's division over to the lower bridge once I've completed that. All right, he's starting to move now. So maybe we will go ahead and start moving things forward. Oh, now he's pulling back. So I'll go ahead and pull Johnson's division up. I'm going to bring Gustavus Smith around here, and I'll hold Armistead and just use him to anchor the line as I bring the others around. It does sound like some of my artillery is starting to engage a little bit. It's got to be Reed. Nope, none of them are in range. Not entirely sure who I thought I heard firing. Maybe I didn't. So now he's getting into a battle line. Oh yeah, I definitely hear firing now. Where's that coming from? Oh, here's the problem. Yeah, we're getting near dark now. It's October, so it's already getting dark. That means I'm not going to have time to really engage him before reinforcements arrive, because they're all going to arrive overnight. Darn it. That's definitely a problem. Alright, let's press this as much as we possibly can before we run out of daylight. Try and at least drive these guys off the field so that when I do engage the rest of his army, at least these ones won't be here anymore. I'm not going to attack with Armistead. I'm mostly going to kind of swing my left wing around. Armistead's just going to continue to kind of hold the line and anchor it for me. I'm going to bring these guns over here on the side. Alright, once we take Harper's Ferry Road, we can pull these guys down. I'm going to bring Lee a little closer. See if I can spot any more of his troops. Although he's only got 10,000 men on the field, so this is probably it. Man, if I just had a few more hours. But we'll try to crush him as quick as we can. I just don't know how late it's going to let me go at this time of year. He's only got 9,500 men on the field. Let's look at the condition report. 2 hours till the Coast Division arrives. That's 5,000 men. Okay, here we go. This is really important that I try and engage these guys now if I can. So we've got Hampton's brigade here, Stonewall brigade there, so that's one of our few elite brigades in the army. We've got Hood's brigade over here, named after the late John Bell Hood. Whiting here. 24th Irish Volunteers. We need long range order. Sweets, Florida first, same thing. I should have defaulted to long range at the very beginning. Alright, Alright, let's go ahead and bring Armistead up here. Now we're going to swing these guys around. Sweets and the Irish Volunteers a little bit. Garnet up here. Let's get our artillery moved up. Pendleton's already firing, so I'm probably okay with them. Reed's firing as well. Those are those 24-pounders, the 12th Louisiana Heavy Artillery. So they finally arrived. This is their first combat, I believe. 24-pounders in Ultimate General Civil War were absolutely devastating. Of course, they have to be close range for that. Alright, he's sending men forward now. There's Winder. That's Winder's the Carolean Guard. Alright, this is really just a slugfest. We're just shooting it out. We got to get numbers on him. Let's get as many guns firing on him as I can. Pretty intense. Really intense fire. See how we're all doing here. Alright, I'm going to issue orders all the way from Longstreet, telling everybody just to fire at the max range. Now, if they have initiative on, that's something they'll typically change themselves if they feel it's warranted. Interesting. I had an uncle named James Garrity who was he was my great aunt's husband. Darn it! Didn't get to finish him off. Who actually fought in the Civil War in a New York regiment. Man, we were right in the middle of the action, and look at all those notifications for reinforcements that have arrived for the Union. Now it's gonna get ugly. Good night, that was a lot of reinforcements he got. So let's take a look. I gotta get this deployment screen off of here. So hopefully we'll be able to get these guys pulled back. Let me get Winder back. Oh, Winder broke because, yeah, that was my stupid fault because I charged him into that unit and that got him way out in front of everybody. Boy, it really doesn't pay to charge unless you're driving off the last of the enemy. Because if you're just charging just to get one guy and you just expose yourself and it just ends up really bad. So the good news is I think we're starting to drive off the first division before the next one comes into position. So that worked out pretty well. He's actually coming at me now. Take a look what's happening. See if we can rally the Carolean Guard. Rally, boys, rally. Alright, I'm going to issue a division level rally order. You need to switch your facing a little bit here. You need to get help up there before he gets overwhelmed by numbers. Who just withdrew? Oh, Keyes arrives. The 4th Corps has arrived. Ooh, boy. That may be a different story. Yeah, now he's got 86,000 men. Oh... I'm going to have to withdraw from Winchester. Darn it. I was hoping he'd just leave me alone so I could rebuild my army. It's not to be. We're going to have to withdraw. 86,000 men. I can't deal with all that. Oh, that's frustrating, but that's reality. I can't get an entire core of my army destroyed because I tried to take on 84,000 men. All right, 2,000 casualties. We inflicted 3,700. Oh, that was not a winning situation there. All right, third corps in retreat. Well, that's interesting because the first corps was there too. Why did they not enter the fight? Because that was another 11,000 men that I desperately could have used. Alright, what do we want for our third one? I think we'll go Bureau of Military Information. So we can't leave one corps there without the other. Well, that would be why. Magruder's first corps was on a defensive stance, so they weren't going to come to my aid. That's the kind of thing I got to make sure I'm checking. Second corps also on defensive stance. Oh boy. Withdraw. Get out of there. Get the Army of Tennessee also on offensive stance if they're not already. They are. So the problem here is that the second and third, or the first and third corps are retreating toward Grafton, Virginia, rather than down toward Fredericksburg, where the rest of my army is. So I'm going to be largely divided. I'll have to bring them around down this way to get them back into position. All right, so with the draft in place, we've got 538,000 draftees available. We are at minus 12,000 on volunteers. So we're going to have to start filling in the ranks with some draftees, but we desperately need them. So let's start with Virginia. For the Army of Northern Virginia, we've got 51,000 of them available. So we've got to get some of these men in there because we just don't have enough men in our units right now. And even if I use these brigades to reinforce the other ones, that's what I'm going to do because I've been combining units. I'm down to just 46,000 effectives in the Army of Northern Virginia. So it's going to take 5 days for some of these guys to get into the field, which isn't bad at all. But boy, do I need these men right now. And also, we're always looking for new patrons. So if you're interested in having a unit in the game, like a lot of the other ones that you see, just follow the link on Patreon and you can follow the instructions on how to get your own unit in the game. And I want to give a shout out to the Grand Tactician developers for tweeting about that. They apparently liked that idea and sent out a tweet about that. If you're not following them on Twitter, I definitely suggest that you do. So let's look now at the Army of Tennessee, which is an independent command in the Richmond area. We could probably add some reinforcements there. Ledbetter's brigade's down to just 915 effectives. We could definitely use, other than Mills Brigade, 2nd Battalion. So all of our patron units seem to be doing okay. But we could definitely use some reinforcements there as well. So let's go ahead and add, and I think I need to go ahead and create an actual division for our artillery troops. We'll start by creating an artillery brigade here. Oh, I forgot that we got to add this as a group. There we go. Now we'll add all of these in our artillery division. And we definitely don't want 6-pounders. Oh, let's get some 12-pounder Whitworths. We have those now. All right, so the Army of Tennessee is up to almost 17,000 effectives. Let's continue on. French intervention remains at 80%. British remains at 64%. I had a request from someone after the last episode to see the state of the front lines. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's show the paper map filter, show the front lines as they exist. You can see here he's got some inroads down into Kentucky that we've got to deal with. So we've got to seal off and drive out this Union unit here from Kentucky. That's the Army of Mississippi, which I thought I had defeated. He's only got 1,700 men, at least in that headquarters. So maybe they are going to be driven out. But otherwise, you can see a little bit in Indian Territory. We've got about half of Missouri. We've got all the way up into Columbus. We've got a good part of Illinois and southwest Indiana as well. So let's try to push this out, maybe push up Indianapolis if we get a chance. That's got to pull him west. I keep hoping it'll happen. Now, my financial system is a real problem. My credit rating is in the tank. I've already got $1.45 billion in debt, which is a lot for this stage in the war. So I'm going to have to look at the possibility of a policy that's going to help with that. We're going to hit government funding too, and go ahead and see if that can help shore up our credit rating a little bit so we can continue to get loans. Republicans maintain majority. The November elections have happened. Lincoln's support secured. Union stands firm. A disappointment for Davis. So, you know, remember this time in history with the parties as they existed, the Democrat Party was the party that largely carried the South, and so they were much more pro-Southern. And I don't know what happened there. Oh, we're advancing to the next stage. I don't have the sound on for videos, so we're not going to see it. But I believe what this means is that we're advancing to kind of Chapter 3. Grant advancing to Vicksburg. Lee wins the Battle of Chancellorsville. So let's take a look, because I think that's what that means. I think probably the next, war so terrible. So this next set of policies should now be available to us, which makes me feel bad that I did government funding 3, because now I don't want to use that policy. I want to have some of these other ones available to me. So we've got military 3. Policies with a military focus allow more subsidies that will boost recruitment, internal security, and war effort. This policy calls for organization of military railroads to make troop movement faster, cheaper, and more effective. We can get diplomacy 5. This allows the 3-inch breech-loading Armstrong rifle and the newest innovation in infantry weapons, the Dreiss needle gun. It's also going to give a boost to European relations, which would be huge for me right now. King Cotton 4. European relations improve that way as well. Eventually, I want to be able to get Confederate States colored troops, but I don't think we're quite there yet. And we can also even do a Slavery Restriction Act, which we can only get once we have Industrialization 3. And we haven't even done 1 or 2 yet. So I don't know that that's a possibility, but I think we're going to go with this first. And then if I can undo maybe one of these other policies, we might go ahead and try for the next level on diplomacy. So anyway, as I was saying, you can see national support's actually still really good for the Union. National morale not quite as good, but the support was the number that mattered for the elections. Lincoln needed to keep a Republican majority in the House, because otherwise the House would have made it very difficult for him to pursue prosecution of the war, because they hold the purse strings, so to speak, which means they hold the funding to the war. And without funding, you can't fight a war. And the Democrats would have rather sued for peace. So he needed to keep that majority in 62. We got the 1st Corps Army of Mississippi in contact with the Army of the Ohio. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what those numbers look like, because if it's pretty one-sided, I may auto-resolve that one. But it looks like we're coming at him from 2 different sides here. How many men does the Army of the Ohio have? He's got 12,000 men. 1st Corps Army of the Mississippi has 16,000. Army of the West is coming in from the other side with 16,000 men. Army of the Mississippi headquarters doesn't have any men of its own. So let's fight this one. Couldn't be more even right now. And as with a lot of these Western battles, we end up on the Bull Run battlefield a lot. And again, I say this a lot, but there are new maps coming. So don't think that it's always going to be this way, that when you fight, you're always on these same couple of maps. There's going to be a lot more variety coming to that. So we'll get everybody in a position. We'll look for the objectives that we want to take. Looks like we're going to want to move right down the center here to take some of these objectives, but it looks like that's where he is. He's at Matthews Hill already. Well, we pursue him, and we haven't found him yet on the field. We do have the Army of the West arriving in 13 hours, which is going to give us 4 additional divisions. So I'm not going to pursue him too heavily right now, because it would certainly be nice to have those extra units on the field when I engage. It looks like he may be pulling back this way, because I see kind of a trail of objective points being taken, but they're small ones, and he's leaving the larger objectives to me. You can actually see how the objective is being captured if you watch right here. That we're on 10 times speed, so it goes a little quicker there. I'm also noticing that it appears that cavalry cannot take objective points. At least this particular cavalry, Lindsay's brigade, is not. Now let's see if that changes if we dismount. I don't know that it will. We may need infantry in order to take objective points. It appears that way. So I'm going to have to send a brigade of infantry. I'll send Stevens' brigade down here to take this, and we're going to go ahead and move Jones up to the front lines. All right, still no sign of him, but we're earning victory points much faster than he is now, so I'm actually feeling pretty content with just sitting tight, though I may go ahead and try to cross here, because this is kind of an interesting spot. We fought here before. It's not the best place to have an army, so if I'm going to cross, I want to go ahead and get across. It doesn't appear he's around. So let's go ahead and take that victory location if we can. You can see his blue starting to slowly go back down. So that's going to take some time to secure Sudley Springs. Otherwise, I'm going to sit tight. I think I've gotten up to enough objectives to win this battle. And I haven't sighted him at all. So I don't know if he's just pulling out or what. But there's the end of the day. We're going to be getting our reinforcements from the Army of the West that's arriving. Let's see if they're on the field now. I don't see them yet. Well, Cooper has arrived. There he is over here. So now we can get him into the field. We can only move out just a little ways, though. But there's no way he's going to be able to hold against our combined forces. Let's go ahead and advance the Army of the West. And see if we can spot this guy, figure out where he is. All right, we found him. He's all the way up here in the north. So that is where we have to go with our divisions. I'm going to start advancing up here. This is an opportunity to smash one of the only armies remaining in the West with vastly superior forces. And we're going to try to time this attack if we can, so that everybody converges at the exact same time. We haven't tried that timed assault tactic yet, but I definitely want to try it here. So his skirmishers are already engaging. I'm going to move these guys up a little further. Where's he going? Okay, there we go. Let's get McCulloch up here. We're still waiting for the units to get in on the other side. We're waiting on our artillery. And then I want to close this trap all at once if I possibly can, once I get these guys up on my right flank. Let's look at what the numbers are. 32,000 to 12,000. This is a major advantage for me, including 12,000 cavalry. I'm going to launch a major assault here, which is going to cost me some men, but it's an opportunity to really just destroy this army. I think of the speech that Lee gives in the movie Gettysburg, where he says, "We are adrift in a sea of blood, and I want it to end. I want this to be the final battle." Now, this is obviously not the final battle of the war, but here's an opportunity where, like Lee told Longstreet, I want to hold nothing back. Because I have an opportunity here to get him, and he doesn't have access to a withdrawal point here. Now there is a little space right here that I don't quite have the manpower to cover. But let's do this. Let's give these orders. And we're going to say move at a certain time. Let's see, it's 13:39 right now. How about we say at 1500, and I'm going to give orders to all these forces to move at exactly 1500, 3 o'clock. Wait, where are you going? I said 1500. All right, there you go. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give assault orders, assault the enemy line and break it in a glorious charge. That's going to be the stance for all units in both armies. Army of the West and in the Army of the Mississippi. Alright, well, apparently giving the assault order tells them, assault right now. So forget the time thing. Let's go. And let's go right now. We're going to press on all fronts. And we'll just reissue these orders and tell them to go right now. Not ideal for how I wanted to do it, but I guess that's what we're going to do. We've got a division back here that I'm not even sending forward. Let's get them in there. We're just going to overrun these guys all at once. It's going to take some casualties in doing so, but this is an opportunity. What's this? McCulloch demoralized. We're going to destroy his right flank, I think. Who was wounded? Shelby was wounded. And we've already got 2 units who have broken. Man, I just hate how they always seem to break when they're launching these assaults like this. McCulloch was wounded. The assaults never seem to go well. Man, there's some heavy-duty fire going on over here. I'm not going to charge into those skirmishers. I know how that goes. Let's get Price's division up here quickly. So here's who we're dealing with. We've got the Shelby Foot Brigade there. Stewart here. Stevens Brigade not actually engaged at the moment. Cavalry up here, we've got the Shelby Iron Brigade, 25th Texas Cavalry, Missouri Bushwhackers, all doing really well. And then moving in on this side, we've got the 5th Kentucky Mounted Infantry, the Ruhr Valley Brigade coming in right there. We've got Lindsay's Brigade here. And who's this? Hey Goods, DK's Cowboys. So we really haven't hit his center or his right yet, or his left. We're still waiting for this other division to get up here and plug this gap. No, Stevens, I don't want you to do that. Alright, we smashed one of the Union units now. Oh, that's artillery, and why? Oh, I see what happened. Stevens That always fools me. Stevens sent a detachment to go up and grab some guns, which is what happened there. And that's why we suddenly have an artillery piece firing on the enemy right there. We do have an assault order, a standing assault order for both armies, which is why you see these men jumping in like this. Let's get Randolph's division mounted up, and it might be time to send them in on a charge. Charge those guns. Maybe our cavalry will have better luck with the melee assaults. This is a bloody fight. I would imagine my casualties are probably pretty severe at the moment. Actually, both sides have caused almost identical casualties. It's within 18 of the same. That's not going to last, though. Enemies retreating. Yeah, I want to keep this going as long as I can, though. He's got 52 minutes before he can retreat. We're definitely going to try to push within the given time. I think you have to hit the play button to make that disappear. Or maybe it's just going to stay there the whole time. Okay. Alright, we've got 50 minutes to press this. Let's try to break him further. And we're going to do what we can to make that happen. I want to destroy this army once and for all. I want to see who's causing the casualties on my side. Nope, wrong army. Who's inflicting the heavy casualties? It looks like it's in the Army of the West, and it's kind of hard to see, but here you go. Randolph's division, Shelby Iron Brigade specifically, and that's after they lost their commander. They've inflicted 816 casualties. By far the most of any unit. Yeah, we've just completely shattered this army. All right, 4,200 casualties for me, 5,000 for him, but that's a much larger percentage of his force. That's nearly half. All right, here are the results. Let's take a look and see where things stand at this point. Actually, we lost some European intervention. We're down to 60% on the French and 48% on the British. I don't know if that's because of the defeat that we suffered earlier at Winchester, and there's a bit of a delay since it takes a little bit of time for news to reach across the ocean. Although I believe at this time there had been a telegraph cable laid across the Atlantic Ocean. There was one that had been laid, and I think it only lasted like for a couple of messages, and then it kind of didn't work out, but then they laid another one later on. Yeah, the first transatlantic telegraph was laid across, I think, from Canada over to Ireland in the 1850s. It reduced communication time between North America and Europe, which was 10 days. That's the amount of time it took for a ship to get across, to a matter of minutes. But I don't believe that first one that was completed in 1858 actually worked out. It ended up failing. And then the second one, which actually happened in 1865, and then a third one in 1866. So it was really at the end of the war, the Civil War, that happened, but completely changed. I mean, think about that. Think about how many months it used to take for word to get across the ocean, but then you have steamships that can do it in a matter of a little over a week, and then you go down to a matter of minutes when you've got telegraph lines laid. So just a completely different way of looking at the world. For those of us who remember the world pre-internet, you understand the difference in terms of access to information that we now have. And it was the same way with communication at that time. So we're going to wrap it up right there. Still a long way to go, but we're going to enter into winter quarters, I think, before too long, and try to just sit tight, reinforce our armies, get the numbers built back up, maybe even start to focus on the Navy a little bit if I can deal with my financial situation. through some more policies, and then kind of move from there. I don't think we want the Conscription Act, but if we can start dealing with industrialization, and I think once you do one, I don't think these take additional policies, but I don't remember for sure how that works. But we'll come back to that soon. Thanks for watching.